Thrifting is taking over the world. And we're in this really weird spot right now where used clothing is the cool clothing, the fashionable clothing, and in many cases, the most expensive clothing. As a millennial, I've watched thrifting go from a niche poverty signifier to a symbol of cultural relevance and coolness. But here's the thing, it's not like freshly cool, right? It's been cool for a while. McClure released that song like 13 years ago, turns out. But a lot has changed, and today it is at a completely different level. In a weird ways, the massive brands like Shein, Zara, and H&M, and the fast-paced fast fashion that they have made possible sort of pushed thrifting into the current popularity that it's seen today. The literal mountains of garbage clothing that these brands produce that are built from that week's trends that won't last both literally and figuratively are now creating the demand for the pieces that survive. The ones that people will hunt for on the racks of thrift stores all over the world, the ones that still hold on to their value, that are durable, timeless, and repeatable. And this goes way beyond clothing as well. We're in a time of endless consumerism, right? We have more than we've ever had, but most of it kind of sucks. And so in the sea of crappy consumer garbage, the cream is starting to come to the top. And the only place you can kind of find it now, at least for a semi-reasonable price, is in the secondhand marketplace. But as the enthusiasm for distinct and unique pieces grows, so does the hype, and then, of course, the price tag as well. The big thrifting retailers are not only hitting record profits right now, but they are getting into the reseller game too, with their own boutique stores dedicated to trendy and higher value items. And of course, people are pissed. First, let's take a moment to talk about the brilliant sponsor of today's video, an app that I have used and that Matthew is currently using to learn Spanish, Babbel, one of the top language learning apps in the world.
Estoy aprendiendo español para hablar con los pingüinos magallánicos.
Spring is here and it's a great time to travel, and I think that learning even a little bit of a language before you go to that place is a great idea because it allows you to have a more meaningful connection to that culture. Like ordering in a cafe or asking for directions on the street feels very different when you can speak even a bit of that language. Even a few key phrases can turn a subpar trip into an unforgettable one. And with Babbel, you can start speaking that language in just 3 weeks, according to research at Yale University, Michigan State University, and other major institutions. My favorite part though is that Babbel's lessons prepare you for real-life conversations about travel, business, relationships, and more. Another thing that we love about this app is that all of the lessons are designed by real language teachers, and the interactions on the app feel practical, not gamified. Plus, Babbel offers a 14-day money-back guarantee for users who decide it's just not the right fit. Just write to customer service within 14 days for a full refund. So go and join now, use our link, and get up to 55% off your subscription. A huge thank you to Babbel for sponsoring today's video. Let's get back into it. So when I was a kid, my parents bought all of my clothes from thrift stores, and I was deeply ashamed of that. It was not something that I would have told anyone because we couldn't afford new clothes. And so when I finally did get the money to buy my own outfits, I chose the most overpriced, blatantly branded shit I could find. I was the dude with like the Hurley shirts, you know, DC, Fox, you know, like I didn't even care what the brand was. I just wanted to be seen with a brand on my shirt, and I would pay basically any amount of money to get that look. But things have changed so much because back in the 90s and the early 2000s, we didn't have fast fashion like we do now. Right now, we're living in a time where getting new clothes is not hard or expensive. And as we all know, there is a human instinct to want what we can't have, and so now we're thrifting. Thrifting's popular. I'm just born in the wrong era. Today you can get a full outfit on Shein for what it cost me to get a Billabong shirt from West 49 back in 2005. But it is of course not as easy as the grass is always greener, right? There is some very interesting psychological reasons why thrifting has become so popular. Now, of course, there are the classic reasons like we've been hearing over and over for the last few years, and of course, it's more sustainable to buy secondhand, or hey, you know what, it's so cost effective. But truly, the experience of thrifting itself is the thing that makes it so popular. Because going thrifting is just way more fun than going and buying something at the mall or buying something online. And this is one of my favorite parts about the thrifting story, because lately everything is about convenience, right? Don't ask your friend or roommate for a ride to the airport, just get an Uber. Don't go meet somebody at a bar, go on Hinge. Don't make food yourself, just order it into your house. Don't go shopping, buy all your shit on Amazon from the comfort of your couch. And for a long time, this convenience-driven consumption really did take over. But for some reason, thrifting, which is probably the least convenient shopping experience you can imagine, has taken off. Your typical thrift store is stocked with a mix of completely random stuff that you have to sort through, hundreds of pieces of fast fashion trash or poorly made home goods from Target or whatever, just to find something that might actually be worthwhile. But that is kind of exactly the point. What I just described is essentially a treasure hunt. It's a mystery to be solved. It's the classic 3-act structure of a Hollywood film. A person goes out in search of love, is faced with a variety of challenges that they must overcome, and just when it all seems doomed to fail, they find true love. Big business couldn't replicate this. They can't manufacture this experience because if they could, they would have already.
I saw a video recently of this guy that was like, hey, interestingly enough, I was at a thrift store and he was like, I found this puffer jacket and it's got what used to be a circular logo on the arm, but it's been removed and there's no tags anywhere on the garment, but it seems really high quality. Like, this seems like a really cool puffer jacket. I don't know what it is exactly. And so he looked up this kind of puffer jacket like on the internet to try to find one, and the closest thing he would find was an actual Canada Goose one. And he was like, how do I find out if this is a Canada Goose jacket? And I guess all Canada Goose jackets have, like, in the back on the hood, it's like hidden, there's like a tiny little logo that says Canada Goose. There's like a $1,500 puffer jacket that he got for like 20 bucks at the thrift store, but the only reason he did that was because the original owner deleted all traces of it being a Canada Goose, because otherwise it would have been priced at like at least 200 bucks.
This story captures the feeling that people get when they go thrifting, which explains a part of why it's exploding in popularity. But it's also pointing to a bit of a gold rush moment that is slowly but surely eating the trend from the inside out. See, every time that you step into a thrift store, there is a small chance that you might walk out with a designer item that you find for incredibly cheap, or like a one-of-a-kind antique good, or score some vintage furniture worth a decent chunk of change. People are out there hustling to find the piece that they can't even imagine in their head because they think it's going to complete their wardrobe or their desired aesthetic, or because they know that it's going to make them a lot of money. And the big thrift stores are also figuring this out too, and we're going to talk about that a little later. But the trend is playing out in two very distinct ways. And the first one I think we have to talk to is like the psychology of thrifting, which I mentioned before, but there's a lot more to it. So when we first started brainstorming this video, basically the pitch was thrifting is now gambling. And if you start looking into it, it becomes obvious that that's true. It is truly a shopping experience, and it's one that people are getting very addicted to for a lot of the same reasons that people are getting addicted to other dopamine-driven shopping activities. Thrifting taps into all those same dopamine receptors as gambling or blind box mechanics. You're putting time and money on the line in the hopes of getting something truly special. Maybe it's not a rare Labubu from a specific collection or a Pokemon card from a deck, but it might be a rare shirt, vase, or lamp that you haven't even thought of. The breadth and the variety of things that may fall into a category of exciting or intriguing or, thrilling is actually a lot wider than the Labubu, because it's specifically what you're interested in. Because this is the thing, there are just a bunch of things that are of value to you that might not be value to anyone else. And this experience of finding something truly special does something in your brain. I found this article of this guy who says that he goes to Value Village like 10 times a week. And he says in the interview, he's like, yeah, when you find something, man, you feel the dopamine. Like, he knows, He's educated enough to understand that, like, I'm getting high when I do this.
You know what this is? When people are gambling at Goodwill, while people are searching for, the thing that they can make a profit off of, the activity of this is called Goodwill hunting.
That's dumb and I loved it. A dead giveaway of something getting commodified is these gold rush stories that you hear about it. Gamblers talking about the crazy wins. The Labubus sold for 100x the retail price. The crazy finds at the thrift store that turn out to be worth an entire paycheck. And now we have whole pages, whole Instagram accounts and TikToks dedicated to people's furniture flipping endeavors on Facebook Marketplace, or the outfits that they've built from thrift stores on the cheap. And this isn't just like niche weirdos online, creators who nobody's even heard of. They're garnering millions of views on thrift haul videos. And one of the big reasons why this is possible now that it wasn't possible before is because of apps like Depop and Facebook Marketplace. These are the places that are turning this kind of harmless activity into a habit-forming behavior. And look, I personally feel this because I'm in pretty deep on Facebook Marketplace. I've been furnishing my house for like the last 3 or 4 months. I basically go on there every single day. I'm on Facebook Marketplace every single day, on the off chance that there is something there that I need. And need is like a strong word. Because the thing is, when we first moved in, I was furnishing everything that I could possibly find from Facebook Marketplace to save money, and also because I think it's just better to do it that way. But then gradually, like, we've kind of furnished everything that we need, but I'm still on the app every day. And you can see how these apps are shifting to keep people engaged on the platform. Like, what you see for sale is basically like the algorithmic feed that you have on Instagram. The things that you see are based on your search history, your recent purchases, and the seamless integration that these apps have through your phone, in the case with Depop and these other marketplaces, makes the purchasing experience completely frictionless. But we have noticed that a lot of these platforms take advantage of this hyper-consumerist mindset that prevails in online buying and selling. So if you've watched our channel for a while, you know that the sign of any trend or bubble or an overhyped product is the existence of a reseller market that's kind of gone bananas. And now we have influencers telling you how to flip products for a profit. It seems like almost all of our hobbies today are just getting financialized and then ruined by the grifters who come out to get their share. But in this particular case, I hate to say it, but there's a little bit more nuance to it. Lou is very adamant about this. She's like, no, dude, no. These are not just grifters. These people have something positive to contribute to society. And I'm like, all right, educate me then. Lou wanted us to clarify that the thrift sellers are not the same as hustle bros buying up Prime to hawk it on the elementary school playground or whatever. And I agree. There have been consignment stores for a long time, and the business of curating higher quality products from the mountains of fast fashion garbage that you see at the thrift stores today is a legitimately valuable job. As a person who has a toddler and runs my own business, I will pay for the convenience of having a collection of the best stuff that someone else has gone through for me. We also need to be reminded that we already have enough clothing on this earth, apparently, for the next 6 generations, and that, according to the APA, 84% of all donated clothing ends up in the landfill, not in people's homes. So, in a not insignificant way, the resellers are salvaging clothes, antique furniture, electronics, and all kinds of other stuff that would have otherwise just ended up in the landfill. Okay, Lou, we've heard you. I think you've made your point. So yes, it is easy to say the resellers are the worst people alive and they're ruining our hobbies. And we have been critical of resellers in the past because it does feel like they're the ones driving up the prices. But I don't think that that is actually the case here. It's like saying the artists and the musicians who brought the culture to like a formerly sketchy part of town are the ones responsible for the 40-story luxury condos that gentrified it 10 years later. The truth is, with the increase in demand for secondhand items, thrift stores are catching on to the fact that they can increase their prices too. As a result, people without financial means are now not able to afford these previously affordable items. This is genuinely sad because I think in my mind, as a 90s millennial, the thrift store is supposed to smell bad. The thrift store is supposed to be a place where you gotta kind of dig deep to find the thing that actually does something for you, right? You gotta earn it. It's like climbing up to Everest, you know? Like you gotta, if you didn't step over a couple of bodies. Is the view even worth it? So now thrift stores like Goodwill and Savers are becoming resellers themselves. They have steadily been increasing their prices and consistently marking up items purely based on perceived value. And this is a part of a whole new rebrand we see happening in the thrifting world. In the last decade or so, Goodwill has opened up Goodwill boutique stores. And in the last 5 years, we've seen other chains like Value Village opening up VB boutiques here in Canada too. This is places where they sell only trendy or luxury items at a higher cost. And in their regular stores, they will now have a specific section or a sort of behind a counter sort of area where those higher ticket items can be found. On top of this, at Goodwill, they're using AI tech to identify the models and styles and brand names and original prices of certain items so that they can price those things competitively. And not like with other thrift stores, but with retail marketplaces as a whole. And look, I wouldn't be surprised if the rest of the big name thrift stores followed suit, because obviously there is a demand for it, and we're seeing entire AI companies popping up to do just that thing. Right now, this business model is maybe the easiest to carry out within the clothing industry, but soon enough, we'll see huge markups for things like vintage electronics, toys, and furniture, all just based on their popularity online. Like, it's not going to be just like, oh, well, you know what, this desk was worth 89 cents or whatever when it was built back in the frickin' 50s. It'll be like, oh no, similar desks have sold like this for $500 last week on Facebook, and they'll be able to jack up the price. And this is where we go back to Lou's story, because the reason why she was telling the story is that it was only a deal because it wasn't recognizable as a brand name product. But the fact that these chain thrift stores are getting in on the hustle is made even worse when you realize that A, oftentimes they're megacorps worth billions of dollars, and B, their business model is already so OP. Do people still say OP? I know that was a big gaming thing when I was kind of phasing out of my gaming life, but let me know if I'm indeed as old as I feel. So for an example, a sandwich shop has to pay for the bread and the cheese that goes into their sandwich, like all the raw materials. But thrift stores get all their baseline raw materials, clothing, home goods, or whatever, for free. But not even just for free. People deliver free stuff to the thrift store themselves. They also don't rely on any skilled labor. Every employee they hire is paid minimum wage, so they really just have to make rent, and the rest is all profit. Now, Goodwill does have its issues, but it's really the for-profit ones that we need to be picking on here because they are actually horrible. They were accused of false advertising, dressing up like a charity organization while what they do in truth is partner with these charities. However, sales revenue doesn't go directly to these causes. This makes them look really good on the surface and convinces shoppers that they're doing good by purchasing things at Savers, but the business is essentially just taking advantage of customers' goodwill. Get it? Goodwill. Anyway, as we've seen the explosion in popularity in thrifting, we see thrift stores rebranding to take advantage of this change of perception. Listen to this article. New Goodwill stores are going to be bigger and brighter. They're going to be in better neighborhoods, and they've even designed a signature scent to mask any unpleasant smells. They're hiring influencers to promote them. This feels like I'm reading a press release from Target or something. And this is all just a rebrand for Goodwill to be seen as something other than just a place to find cheap, formerly loved goods, you know? This quote is fucking crazy. Tim O'Neill, CEO of Goodwill of Central and Northern Arizona, hired a company that develops scents for Las Vegas casinos in an effort to eliminate the musty aroma that often plagues secondhand stores. Like, we came up with the whole thrifting has become gambling idea before we found this quote. I never thought I would see a Venn diagram where we have casinos on one side and thrift stores on the other side, and in the middle is scent designers. And so there's definitely a cultural change happening with thrifting, but these numbers are actually crazy. $5.5 billion in sales in 1 year, up 37% from 2019. They're opening 42 stores next year, and they're seeing almost 10% more visits this year than just a year ago. Like, this is massive growth. This is a huge cultural shift towards thrifting that We see the capitalist system just pumping as hard as possible. So the question really is, are we in a thrifting bubble right now? And this is the part that's really sad for me, because as we're seeing the aesthetic overhaul of thrifting with this booming demand, we're only going to see more bad actors trying to get into the space. Like, Goodwill is probably going to be operating on a business model that is not as much based on goodwill. Like, thrifting is far from dead, probably the furthest it's ever been, but it is slowly selling out its soul. And at a certain point, it's going to become the thing that it set out to fight against in the first place. So the call to action, of course, is go support the church basement thrift store that runs on volunteers where everything is $1.50 or whatever, you know? Go to the curated vintage shop downtown that charges a little bit more, but at least you know the money is going into the hands of another real person, not a CEO, right? And when you're shopping on Facebook Marketplace, have a list of things in mind, because otherwise you're gonna start looking at all kinds of random shit that you definitely don't need, Levi. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. If you made it to the end of the video, consider supporting us on Patreon. That community has been a huge support for this channel. We have early access to videos, some bonus content, access to a Discord community where we genuinely take in your suggestions and talk to people on the team. But we love you either way. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week for another episode.